Hey, good morning or good afternoon. Hope you're doing really well today. Hope the week's going well for you. And thanks for just taking these few moments to join with us and just to really spend some time just thinking and perhaps focusing a little bit about some of the things we've been talking about as a church, particularly over this last Sunday. If you were with us, you will remember on Sunday, or you may have watched it online, we spoke about what it looks like to live with a first mentality. And the key verse that we've been focusing on over these last couple of weeks was from Matthew 6 and verse 33. It says, just to remind you, seek first his kingdom and his righteousness, and all these things will be given to you as well. We said on Sunday, as we talked about a first mindset or a first mentality, we said that it is God focused, full stop, nothing else, nothing added to it. And then secondly, we said a first mindset is kingdom focused. It's God's work, his agenda. That's what is really, really important. And thirdly, if we want a first mindset, we need to be people focused. Jesus died for the world, not for buildings and programs, but he died for people, as good as those things might be. But he died for people, and we have to be involved with people. People have to be the number one priority in our lives. Now, most people would agree with what we shared on Sunday, but I got thinking and praying about what I said. And this is something that's sort of been bubbling around with me for some time. But what I began to write down and to think about, and I just want to share in very brief form and note today, just to get perhaps you thinking and some of your ideas as well. But a first mindset, a kingdom mentality is great. It's good to talk about it. And it is really, really important. And maybe we can recognize that to some degree, we operate like that within the church. We say, yeah, it's God first. Yeah, it's God's kingdom. And people are really important. And there are varying degrees of how we express that and operate in that within the church. But I want to ask the question today, and I think it's an ongoing question. I think it's something we all need to consider and to think about very carefully. What does a first mindset look like when we step outside the church? What does it look like when we get outside the comfort of those walls? What does it look like, especially when we go into the marketplace, into perhaps your place of work? Because most of us have to go into some kind of work, and we may not want to, but that's the way it is. We have to, So what does this first mindset look like? And I felt for a long time that we just don't talk about work enough. When you think about the fact that, the majority of our congregation probably go into some kind of work situation, we don't even pray enough for those who go into work on a daily basis, go into all kinds of situations, all kind of work. And it's not just work, it's true for education, it's true for schools and many other areas as well. So today I'm going to share just some thoughts, and they are just outline sketchy pencil thoughts that I'm still working on, and you might be able to come and see me and add something to it as well. But really what I want to get to the heart of today is to say, how do we live with a first mindset 24/7? Not that we would live in two camps. Our Sunday world and our week world are in two different places. And I think that's really important, because we can, if we're not careful, we can think about our lives as being the Sunday life and then maybe our week life, and never the two shall meet. But actually, Jesus wants to be Lord of our lives 24/7 without any gap or departure in there. So as I think about the work situation, as we step outside of the church, maybe into education, we could also apply this to our families as well. The guiding principle that I think we need to remember is that we need to live with a spirit of love in action in everything, because people really do matter. Now, that might be hard when we talk about a work situation, but I think that has to be the overriding principle of our lives. And we cannot set a list of instructions, or we cannot set a list of rules. But if we're going to live kingdom first, every situation that we encounter is going to be different, it's going to be complex. But we can say that our values, or our strong guiding principle that is shaped and founded on the Word of God, is shaped by this fact that we want to live with a spirit of love, because Jesus told us to love one another. And so it has to be love in action. We're not just going to talk about it, but we're actually going to put it into practice, because people really do matter. And that changes everything. Because when we start to talk about that and to say, yeah, we want to live with this principle of love in action, it has to be in action. So what does that look like in practice? And again, just a few ideas that flow out of that. We could say, for example, that we will go the extra mile. That sounds very biblical. And it is, but we will go the extra mile, even in work or for our family. So we will do over and above actually what is expected of us. We're not going to be confrontational with people, especially when we share our faith. We have our views, we know what we believe and what is right, but we have to listen to what other people are saying. And so we're not going to use language that's going to be confrontational. We're not going to use language that is going to cut people off, but we're going to listen very carefully. Somebody very wisely said, God has given us 2 ears and 1 mouth. And sometimes we do more talking than we do listening. So I think listening is a really, really important part of love in action. We're going to offer to pray for people if it's appropriate. And again, in a work situation, that may not be appropriate. And when the time comes, all we can say is, hey, I'll pray for you. And then we go home and make sure that we do. We actually pray for that individual, for that person, for that situation. Remember a situation I was in a couple of years ago, where somebody in a work context, and not even within the work context of the church, said to me, would you pray for me? And I was able to have that privilege of saying, yeah, when I get home, I will pray for you. And they came back to me just a few weeks later and said, really appreciate you praying, and the situation has changed. And so those are the kind of opportunities that we're looking for. I also think it's important that we're transparent with people. And again, perhaps thinking about work, if someone were to ask you on a Monday morning, where were you yesterday, and you were in the church, I think it might be okay to say so. And just to be open and be transparent about our faith and what we believe. And again, with our families, to be real and to be genuine. And if there are questions of faith, that we respond in that way. And so in everything and in all ways, we want to see love in action. We want to see love in action, because people really do matter. And I kind of closed this bit off by just writing this statement that we're trying to build a bridge of love, and not throw a hand grenade. And I've seen the hand grenade principle sometimes, and it's not pretty and it's not clean. Bridge building takes time. If you look at the other one, the hand grenade one, it closes down conversations. And so let's just go back for a moment. If we think about love in action and we think about the work situation, I think one of the things that we can do is to see our work differently, that we can see our work as a gift from God. God gave me the job, the work that he's given us to do. And ultimately, however bad we think our boss may or may not be, he might be the greatest boss on earth, but ultimately we're working for God. We're working for God. We're working for a higher boss, we could say. We're working for God. And your work is a mission field that week by week God sends you into that mission field. So having said all of that, if we want to have a first mentality that says seeking God first, his kingdom is the most important thing in my life, then the biggest challenge we face is, how do we remain consistent? that we don't just think like this on a Sunday, that we don't just get excited on a Sunday and say, hey, we want a first mentality. But the minute that we walk out of the door, something changes. We want to look at moving towards having a whole life that is kingdom focused. And it's really hard to answer that question. How do we do that in the time that we have? But one of the keys to all of this is I just really believe that it has to be a daily choice. That we don't just make a one-off commitment that 20 years ago we put our hand up and said, yeah, this is... No, we do it on a daily basis. That every day, whatever I do, I choose to put God first and his kingdom every day. And as we make that daily choice, I believe God responds and helps us to really cement that foundation in our lives. So it does become quite natural that we live in a place where it's love in action, that we do go the extra mile, that we are transparent with people, that we're looking to build bridges, not throw hand grenades. So today, I pray for you. I pray for you if you're at work. I pray for you at home. I pray for you if you're in education. I pray whatever your location, whatever situation you find yourself in today. I pray that God will strengthen you. I pray that he will encourage you, that he will build you up in the place of your calling. And even in the rough, sketchy notes that we've talked about today, that God will begin to stir you, that you would begin to think more about what it means to live in that place where God's kingdom is first, where it really is love and action. And I pray that as we close today, that you may know God and his kingdom as your first thought in the morning and your last thought in the evening. Thank you for joining with us today. Thank you for taking these few moments of this time. And I pray that for the rest of the week, God will just richly bless you wherever you are. And I look forward to seeing you very, very soon. God bless you. Thank you.